When you write something of this magnitude, like a play about Pride and Prejudice, you come to just love it so dearly. You feel like the people and the places start feeling like they're a part of you. Elizabeth, Darcy, Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, Bingley, Jane, they all feel like they are some of my dearest friends. And because of that, it's so important to have a production team that you trust. And the people on this particular production team were, in my opinion, the very best people that could have been chosen to help tell this story. I never had a moment of doubt or fear that they would do anything but great things with the script. I knew they would take the script and give our audiences a phenomenal experience as they lose themselves in this story. There is just so much that happens between a script being written and the audience seeing that final product. The men and women who worked on Pride and Prejudice were so dedicated and committed, from casting to blocking to music and choreography to set design and costumes. They ultimately created such a beautiful piece of art, and I am just so blessed to have had the people working on this.
I was so excited to direct Pride and Prejudice this year. This is the second time that I've gotten to direct it, and I love it because it is just such a beautiful script by my friend Leah Simpson. It is just so heartfelt, and I don't know how she got the whole book into a 2.5-hour show, but it's so well done. The music is beautiful. I think it's my favorite music for a Lifehouse show that we have. So this is the third time they've done it at the theater. I was so sad that I didn't get to be involved the first time back in 2010, but I was having a baby during Tech Week, so it didn't work out. But I was very excited when it came around again in 2015 and I got to direct it. And I was just as eager to get to do it again this time, and I hope that next time it comes around that I get to be involved with it again, because it's such a beautiful story and it has such a beautiful message. It's just a very sweet offering to the Lord.
I am Robin Peltz, and I am the Assistant Director and Production Assistant for Pride and Prejudice at Lifehouse Theatre this year in 2022. And I also got the privilege of being the understudy for Caroline Bingley for 2 shows and stepping in for Georgiana Darcy for 1 show. So it's all been quite interesting and fun. How I first got involved in this production, I was actually the assistant director and production assistant for Sherlock Holmes and the Hound of Baskervilles, which was directed by Nathan Smith. And then on opening night of that, Jana Smith, Nathan's wife, asked me if I'd like to be production assistant for this. So I came to the first production staff meeting that we had, and she's like, hey, do you also want to be assistant director and have more creative freedom? And it's like, yes, very much so. So that's how I got to be both, and it's been pretty fun. I got to block a few of the scenes with Elizabeth and with her best friend Charlotte, so that was nice. And it's interesting seeing how it evolves over time. It changes. It doesn't always stay the same with directing, but you have to just recognize that it's changing into something that's more appropriate for the actors. It can still be realistic and everything, and a lot of the times with theater, things are just different rather than becoming better per se. I mean, quality improves over time, but there's different takes on things, and it doesn't always have to be the way you want it to be, and that's important for me to realize throughout this process.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Monsma, the assistant choreographer for Pride and Prejudice. The story of Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite Jane Austen stories. I really love Emma, but Pride and Prejudice has a special place in my heart. And the last time we did Pride and Prejudice, my voice teacher Sarah Ayatt was Elizabeth, and I watched just about every performance of it.
But I had music directed before, and I just fell in love with the music. I thought it was so stunning, and so just the exciting aspect of getting to do it again and kind of add more to what was done previously is really what led me to want to music direct it again. And I love the story. I grew up watching the movie with my siblings, and I've read the book once. And so I just really like the story, and I believe in like the message of it and just the whole theme of family and sisters. And Elizabeth and Jane specifically always really touch my heart because I have sisters. So it definitely makes me excited and passionate about the telling of the story, because I think that's an important relationship that we don't always get to explore in stories that we tell, whether that be on stage or in a book or in a movie. So I just think it's a really neat, wholesome story about sisters and family, and that's a great value. So I just like being part of that.
My name is Julie Carlson. I've been doing Lifehouse shows for 20 plus years. I play Lady Catherine de Bourgh in Pride and Prejudice, and I'm also the assistant music director. So I've been doing shows for a long time, but I finally decided to venture into the production team realm. My experience, especially prior to theater, has been mainly in music. So I was in choir all through high school and college. I love like working out harmonies and stuff to songs, and so Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite stories. So I thought it would be a good way to kind of, break into being on the production team.
So this show was super fun to choreograph. Alyssa Monsma and myself choreographed it together, and it's interesting because it's a period piece. So it's over, the show takes place over 200 years ago. So the challenge is making it exciting for modern audiences and making enough movement and enough happening that it pulls attention, and yet at the same time keeping it true to the time period, which Alyssa was a great help with that because she's great at the time period, knowing the time period and everything. So the cast worked really hard. There's 2 big old ball scenes in it, and it's a lot of fun.
But making sure that we had the right feel and kind of demureness without being too reserved was pretty challenging.
It's definitely a challenge to be in a show and to be music directing it. But you find ways of coping when you're doing that. I definitely don't recommend doing it that way, but I got lucky to be able to, because I wanted to be in the show, but I also wanted to be part of the production team. And so myself and Julie, who music directed with me, we would go out and talk to the production team and have to ask, okay, how does it sound? Because when you're in it, you're on stage and you're hearing it from that perspective, not from the audience's perspective. So you just really have to rely on your team. So it can be challenging, but it's definitely doable.
Some of the challenge was, because I was in it, I felt like it was hard while we were doing the run to, like when we were rehearsing, to be able to like listen to the music with kind of that director ear while I was trying to like sing it. So especially like in the finale, it's like I'm trying to remember my part while I'm trying to listen to see if other people are singing their parts and stuff. So that was a little bit challenging. I was assistant music director, so I wasn't as much the focus, so there wasn't as much pressure in this one, but it did kind of help me to understand a little bit more what the music director does kind of behind the scenes and things like that.
Each show has its own challenges, but period pieces can be especially challenging to choreograph, making sure you're staying true to the style but not being too on the nose with it. So being able to look at that time period and take some pretty common dance moves and just change them up and add some theater flair to it was pretty fun. I think the most challenging part is getting everyone to be comfortable with those dances because it's so unlike what we're used to when it comes to dancing.
I really like Sisters for Life. I kind of said earlier that the sister relationship is really important. I have 3 sisters, and so I know how precious that relationship can be. And so I really like Sisters for Life, and just how it just shows how important family is. And not always by blood. Sometimes your sisters are not by blood, but just that relationship of friendship. And I just think it's really precious and very endearing and very biblical. The truth of it is, it just rings for me.
So the music in the show is amazing. I especially love when Jane and Elizabeth sing together. So the songs Sisters for Life, Angel of Mercy are just beautiful harmonies and everything.
My Core Nerves is pretty funny. I do like that one. Especially the little fighting bit that Sarah added in herself, where she just pretends to fight the and just writing-wise, that was pretty cool too, because then you see how quickly Mrs. Bennet's racing thoughts go from, you know, Lydia's gone, to like, we're gonna be out on the streets and poor, and you're just like, how did you get from there to there in that short of a mountain of time? So
Perfect.
that's pretty fun. Yeah.
We've been blessed with amazing people, some new, some returning. Tim Simpson is our Mr. Bennett again, and I just love watching him on stage because he is a father of daughters in real life, and so it translates very well to the stage as well. You can just see that love in his heart. And I've been blessed to work with some wonderful people, and I get to watch it again tonight, so can't wait. Thanks.